We're here today on Middle Meadow Walk in a slightly unusual location for our Daily Festivals video. We are outside a supermarket. And this is Dan Kelly, who is a fringe performer. Dan,
Hello.
would you like to tell me why we're outside a supermarket?
Well, why not? No. We're outside a supermarket because my show is called How I Went to Every Supermarket in the World.
And did you?
Well, that would be... you know what? I'm not far off. I'd say that. It's a true story about a job I did for 10 years, traveling the world, collecting cost of living data. And it involved going to lots and lots of supermarkets. Maybe not every single one, but I'm pretty close.
And what did you do? And why were you doing that?
Yeah, why is probably the...
And how?
So basically the company I worked for, they provided data for people moving abroad for work. So my job was basically to travel to every major city on the planet pretty much and find the prices. I had a list of 164 items. So things which make up a life, we used to say. So my job was basically to go out with my dictaphone and collect them all one by one. And yeah, I guess like I was a year or two out of uni, sort of didn't really know what I wanted to do, like a lot of people, and then found it on a random job listings website, applied. It was called Data Collector, and the first line of this email said, could you find the price of an apple in Liberia? Yeah, and I was like not a clue, but enough to click on it. So I started and thought, this is cool, like a bit of travel for a year or two, then I'll get a proper job. 10 years later, here we are. So yeah, that's the story.
Brilliant. And how did you go about collecting this data, and what kind of things did you need to look at? Was it specific products, or was it sort of just a random loaf of bread, or how did it work?
So you'd always have, so I'd have a list of the shops to visit in a certain country. So I'd have sort of, so say it was here, I'd have like a Sainsbury's, maybe like a Waitrose, maybe like an Asda, like different tiers. Then I'd have maybe specific brands to look for. So I had to go through everywhere. If I couldn't find it, I'd try somewhere else to find it. So you ideally wanted kind of like similar products in across locations, because then you could compare them. But it kind of led to situations where I'd be like I'd find a King's Mill here, and then I might go to like Zambia, and I'd be like, can I find a King's Mill? And it's like, yeah, you're not going to find it. So you had to find sort of similar-ish products, or products which would reflect one another, so you could compare them, basically. So, yeah.
And did you find those massive disparities between the countries in terms of prices and the types of products that were available?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Well, we used to measure sort of. You'd have like a high tier. You wanted to a la your Waitrose. Then you have like a medium, maybe Sainsbury's, and then you kind of get like a local supermarket or somewhere more like somewhere that if you want to save money, basically, where someone will shop. So those ones, they were often the funnest, the kind of like the cheapest, and the kind of like, right, here's where I'd shop, basically. Yeah. So. Yeah, you found big disparities, but you also found, weirdly, when you get like imported products, you found like real similarities. And it's people are mad for certain like brands, or people get really hung up on certain products, you know, like whether it's like nostalgia or like something in their home country which they can find, you know, abroad. They get, so you see a lot of weird imports in places. One actually, I was in the Pacific Islands in Palau. And item number 8, so all items had a number, obviously. Item number 8 was cornflakes. The first thing I saw when I got to Palau was a box, and it was Kellogg's cornflakes, but on the front it had like a competition, and it said win a trip to Alton Towers. And it was like, you saw this stuff all over the world, these random imports. It'd be like, right, am I really going to go to Alton Towers from the middle of the Pacific? But yeah.
Oh, that's great. And did you have any translation problems? I mean, presumably you don't speak the language of every country in the world.
I don't. I don't, and that, like, so I started it in 2014, and it was kind of just when, like, Google Translate was sort of developing, but anyone who used it back then, you'll probably remember, like, it was fairly dodgy, basically, across a lot of languages. So a lot of the times you find yourself in a random place, like, no signal, Google Translate not really working, so you'd be like, right. Like, I remember pharmacies, they were big ones. You'd go in, and you'd be like, right, I need to get, like, item 81 was paracetamol, 84 was allergy tablets, 87 plasters, lozenges, and you'd be like, right, I'm gonna have to ask for like 10 prices in a row, essentially mime them, you know? So I'd be like headache, like allergy, like throat lozenge, long queue forming all the while. So yeah, you got good at improvising, I guess, yeah.
And how was it doing it on your own? Because I mean, you weren't working in a team of people who were doing this. You were on your own with your dictaphone, putting the prices into your dictaphone as you went around the shops.
Yeah.
Or was it quite a lonely job?
It was. So we had like, there was a big office in London where like all the data would come back into. So you had loads of people working kind of, I guess, more regular jobs, you'd say. There was a small team of us, so sort of like 5 or 6 who used to travel to places, but you'd always travel alone. And it was, but you always used to come back to London and sort of have a bit of camaraderie within the team, a bit of like share, like where have you been, like how was Russia, or like how was like Uzbekistan. So you'd all come back together, be like, you know, like I've seen things out there, you know, and that kind of like. So there was a bit of a team spirit, but on your own, you got quite used to it. Like it was kind of lonely, and like a couple of times with the dictaphone, you'd be recording prices, and then I'd notice sometimes I'd be walking around, I'd be like, keep up the good work, mate. And you'd start recording things to yourself sometimes, just as like a kind of weird, and then you type it all up. So then when you're typing it all up, you'd be typing like price, 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 then you'd be like, keep it up, mate, later in the evening. So yeah, I guess in that sense, it was lonely.
And doing a fringe show can be, you know, when you're doing a one-man show, it can be a little bit lonely. There's a lot of fringe performers up here in Edinburgh on their own, doing everything from flyering to their own show. So what tips have you got for them as a kind of independent traveller, experienced independent traveller?
Talk to yourself. Hang on in there. I don't know. Yeah, I guess just keep going. I think when it was a job, you just went into a zone with it. And I guess many performers will have that same thing of like, I'm just in that zone of like, I fly out, I perform, and then you kind of afterwards decompress. And I had the same thing. Like even now there, looking at the Sainsbury's, I'd go to the double doors and I can feel it now. I'd be like, and they just walk in and it would be like, there's item number 4. And you start like Oreos, there you go, 154 grams, 54, you know, and you just, and then that's it. And you just whiz away. So I guess just go into the zone.
And do you still do that when you walk into a supermarket?
Yeah, always,
yeah.
My partner's like, come on, Dad, snap out of here. I'm just like,
but you don't do the job anymore?
I don't do the job anymore, no. So actually, the job now, and just towards the end, we sort of knew this was happening, that actually so much is online. I know it's obvious, but like when I started, supermarkets, things like that, they weren't so much. There was value in sending people and having people on the ground. Whereas now you can get most of the information online. It doesn't really make sense to like, you know, it's like send me to Paraguay when actually the website's really good, the prices are updated. So the job kind of like changed into like sort of the odd one-off trip, but mostly kind of data like collection from the ground. So yeah, I kind of got it during its last sort of period basically. So yeah, so I don't do it now, but I still would walk in a supermarket and be like, oh yeah, no, yes, and yeah.
And obviously you're based in London, so when you come up to Scottish supermarkets, what differences are you noticing? Anything?
Good question. I'm seeing your good core range. One good example, like all the kind of like making jokes about the local like Scottish products and stuff like that. But one interesting thing, which is like people would say like, oh, you must see unique things all the time, and I would, but actually the job's like you got to chase like uniform. All right. So one thing, you know, like I actually went to uni here in Edinburgh, so I know the city really well. And there was a cafe near mine. I used to get like a full Scottish breakfast, like the square sausage. And it always made me think of doing the job, it was like item 64 was sausages. And it's like a Scottish one would be like, I can't compare a square sausage to your standard global cylinder sausage. And so those local things, you'd be like, that's really fun, but I can't use that. I need a uniform price to collect. So yeah, but lots of joy in the Scottish supermarkets. Edinburgh's got some really good Asian supermarkets actually. So some of the items like tofu, sake, sushi rice, these kind of things, always going to them. And yeah, so I've found some really good ones around the place.
Yeah. And your show is basically you telling the story of how you got into this job and all the things that you found.
It is, and it's I try and put a bit more about why the job was really addictive. Okay, as I said, like, I wanted to do it for a couple of years, travel a bit, and then do something else. And then actually, it's not just the travel. It was this thing of this list, these 164. It would like, have you ever done a scavenger hunt? It's that, all right? New city, 164 things go. And it was this addictive lifestyle of like more places, more like things to tick off. So yeah, I kind of, it's about how it became something I just kept wanting to do. And then also maybe the perils of that. Like how do you actually have a life beyond that? So yeah, it's me trying to balance that up as well. So yeah.
Great. So where's your show on at and what's it called?
It is called How I Went to Every Supermarket in the World. It's on at 7:30 at Just the Tonic, the Mash House, so just off the Cowgate there. And yeah, it's getting busy, so get your tickets. And if people want to try a bit of data collection, there's the opportunity to do that in the show. So yeah, definitely come on down.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.